So for a young person out there, a young girl, a young man who wants to become a special agent or who want to build a successful business, what would you tell them?
I would tell them to make a plan
Mhm.
now and follow it, right? But also be open to that plan changing. Just like anything, they say if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans.
Mhm.
And, you know, I think that it's nothing wrong with having a plan, even if it changes. So, just focus on that. If you want to go into, this career, write down what the steps that it's going to take to achieve that, right? You're going to have a good resume. You
Mhm.
want to make sure your resume, qualifies you for the job, right? So take some time to figure out how to do that, right? Reach out to me. I
Yeah.
will be happy to help you with your resume and like having those keywords, right? They have two different positions. They have special agent and they have the uniform officer. So uniform officer is going to be based in DC. You're going to be working at the White House. It's basically kind of like beat cop
Mhm.
type of work. Um, and it's just at the White House in DC. So that's where you will be based. With the agent, the special agent, you can kind of be based anywhere in the country.
Hi, Taylor. Welcome. And today we're going to talk about financial literacy. We're going to talk about a lot of subjects, what you're doing, your businesses, you're helping people succeed in the business world. But before we get to that, please tell everybody about you.
Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are listening to this video. My name is Taylor or Coach Tay, whatever you want to call me, as long as it's nice. I am the 9 to 5 entrepreneur. I help other 9 to 5ers like myself learn how to start, launch, and scale their businesses and entrepreneurship to 6 figures while still working full time. So I have a long list of things that I do.
So, yes, we're going to talk about how you're helping people becoming 9 to 5 CEOs.
Mhm.
And also, I saw you have your YouTube here. You want to talk a little bit about that, your videos?
Of course, absolutely. So as you can see, I'm new to the YouTube platform. I just started probably about a month ago, and so now I am uploading videos every Monday and Thursday,
Wow.
um, and just giving tips to 9 to 5ers, my core audience on just getting diving a little deeper into how to start their business, Airbnb. I am an Airbnb, personally an Airbnb and short-term and mid-term rental host.
Okay.
Um, I'm a former brick and mortar owner. I'm an online business coach. So, I kind of dive into all those topics on my YouTube and, of course, in longer form content, since Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, all of those are like short form content. So, this is a place for me to be able to teach, do the thing that I love to do, and help people as much as I can.
Yes, a great YouTube, great videos. Do you edit your own videos?
I do.
It's a lot
In
of
my
work.
own videos. I've gotten it down to a science too. So usually it takes me from start to finish, maybe an hour. And the
Mhm.
longest part is just waiting on the video to upload. So yeah, I edit my own videos so far.
2 videos a week, that's great. That's a big
Yeah.
start. Yeah, you keep that consistency is growing in a lot. That's great. And yeah, I made a video recently because I passed 10,000 subscribers. So I made a video.
Congrats.
Thank you. So I made a video that I say how I went from 0 to 10K. So
Hmm.
that would be a great video to check out and
I
see,
have to check that out for
check it
sure.
out and see some of my journey. And every case is different, but it just share what I went through. But
Yeah.
especially in the beginning, it's a lot of heavy lifting to get the channel going.
Yeah.
But your videos are already great, which is the main thing. She's good. And then
Yeah.
so I have here your website, and you have this ball on a budget masterclass.
Yes.
So how do you help people create a budget?
Yeah, so I recently kind of shifted to this conversation because, obviously the economy is making its shift right now. And with the whole phenomenon of entrepreneurship and working a full-time job and kind of glorifying the entrepreneurial piece of it. I think it's very important that regardless of the type of income that you have some type of budget and you have some type of plan to start investing if you're not already, or to manage the investments that you're already making. I've seen interviews from wealthy people, right? Actors, actresses, um, athletes that say even though they make a lot of money, they still get the cringe when it comes to knowing what's going to happen next month, what bills are coming up, what expenses. So, it doesn't matter how much money you're making. I
Mhm.
think at any tier of income, having a budget and an investment plan is extremely important. And so that's the conversation that I've started having in my social media platforms and engaging my followers on and encouraging them to, make sure that they have a budget and they have a plan for their money. So super, super, super important to me.
Mhm.
Uh, and I hope that it's important to you guys as well.
That's great. So when someone come here and then they reach out to you, what's the next step?
So if you guys are interested, so I teach a free masterclass every once a month is my goal. I think this month I'm doing two classes. So my next class is going to be August 30th at 4:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So if you guys put your information here on this page, then you will get a follow-up email with information and links to the class that's coming up. And then there's also a direct registration link that you could share, because this one is going to put you guys in the system, of course, but then there's a direct link where you can go straight to sign up for the class as well. So that one I think is on the other website or on the other link that you have there. And then you
Okay.
can click investment ready masterclass at the top. So that will take you directly to the landing page for the class, and it'll give you information on like what you can expect for us to cover, little welcome video from me,
Oh,
and all that good stuff. So this will be the page you want to go to get registered directly.
okay. This is cool.
Yeah,
Wow.
thank
Everything is well set up. That's great.
I appreciate that.
Well, then you have your Amazon affiliate store where you have some of the products, home decor, Airbnb.
Mhm.
So how is going with this store?
Yeah, so I just have this here just as a guide for any of my followers that are interested in reading some of the books that I've read. I need to actually update this because I have two, probably three more books that I've read since then. That is really good books. But as I told you guys before, I have several short-term rental units here in the Los Angeles area. So I just kind of put some items on there if you guys are interested in that market, things that I've used to set up my units that are cost effective but also very cute and aesthetically pleasing.
Mhm.
You guys can shop there for those as well.
Yeah, some of the books, they're great. I saw Brian Tracy here. I saw the Atomic Habits.
Hmm.
This is a must read. Think and Grow Rich, and then Rich Dad Poor Dad. That's very good classics.
And Eat That Frog is like, I've read that book twice.
Eat That Frog.
I highly recommend Eat That Frog, the one by Brian Tracy. I think regardless of where you are in life, business, career, entrepreneurship, this book can really help you kind of get your mindset together for when things get tough or when there's too much or maybe you feel overwhelmed. It's a really good book. So,
The Amazon affiliate is great. I also have mine here where I share
right.
some of the things I used.
Uh-huh.
So this one is really interesting. 21 ways to get 29K in business funding.
Woohoo!
Um, this is another class, another course you have.
Yeah.
What can you share about it?
So this is actually a course that I dropped when for my 29th birthday.
Mhm.
Um, and so I sat down to come up with ways. And honestly, like a lot of the ways you can get more than 29
Right.
29K, but it's just kind of corresponding with the theme of my birthday and the pricing and all that. But it goes into detail about so there's four different sections, subsections. There's four different sections. I believe there's a grant section, a loan section, a credit section, and I can't remember the fourth one, but there's four different sections that have subsections in them with the different tiers of like what you guys can be doing, whether the different types of loans you can get, different types of grants that you can go after, government funding, right? Contract, government contracts, things like that. Business credit, all those types of different tiers of options that you can use for funding. So there's 29 different ways that you can go about looking for funding for your business. So very, very good course. I spent a lot of time
Mhm.
curating, researching, and just making sure that I was giving you guys valuable information for your businesses.
Yeah, I might sign up for this one myself because
Yeah.
I might learn a lot of stuff here,
Of course. And if anybody is coming from this video and you take this course, please feel free to reach out to me and mention MD's YouTube video or wherever you're watching this or listening to this from. And I'll be happy to also jump on a call, a free call with you to kind of go over any questions that you may have just for you guys tuning in and supporting his channel and listening to our video today.
All right, yeah, okay, that's great. Okay, guys, no excuse, no excuse.
No
Anyone watching here, go get the course and then try to reach out to Taylor. That would be great. I would definitely try to get this myself because it's gonna help me learn a lot, I'm sure.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
so yeah, so 21 ways to get 29K. Talk about grants, which is very important. I don't know much about it. It's good to know.
Mhm.
Business loans, government contract, business credits. This is really what people need. People don't, we're trying to help people get by in their life, instead of, talking down to people, telling them, oh, they're getting all these welfare programs, all of that. Instead
Yeah,
of that, we need to show them how to build a business, get funding so they can succeed, making their own thing, right?
yeah, absolutely. And speaking of building the business, so I do have also some free resources on here.
Mhm.
So if you ever wanted to start a business and maybe you've been confused about how to start, I have a free business startup checklist. So it literally will take you step by step on how to create your business entity, get your EIN number, set up your address, get prepared for funding. So it will help you kind of, yeah, there it is, kind of get you prepared for what I'm talking about in the 29 ways to get 29K. Because what is in this checklist, you're absolutely going to need that to be able to be successful in that funding piece.
Yes, it's great. So you help them set up the business and then hopefully get
Yeah.
some funding, which is gonna help you run the business, at least in the beginning.
Hmm.
Yeah, this is great. I like this. So we're glad to have you here. So people can, they need help with that. They can reach out to you. So financial literacy for people of color. I like that because I got a lot of people talking about financial literacy. um, what can you say about it in general, and what can you say about it for people of color?
I actually started this nonprofit back in 2020, 2021. And this was just around the time where the incident with George Floyd had transpired. And, a lot of people of colors, particularly Black people, were outraged, of
Yes.
course, by this incident. And it was just a huge deal across the entire country. And I saw a lot of people talking about reparations. We need
Yes.
reparations. And
Yes.
and I couldn't help but to think like, wow, if the country decided to give us all the reparations that we deserve, let's say for instance they gave us all $100,000,
Mhm.
right? Which is not a whole lot of money in today's world, but for some people that is a life changing amount of money.
Mhm.
If they were to give it to us, how many people of color
Mhm.
would actually do right with the money and invest it and make it compound to more? And
Mhm.
how many of us would go and spend it on a car and
Yeah.
clothes and
Yeah.
designer, things
Yeah.
that just don't matter?
Yeah.
And so that's why I had the thought of like, wow, like I really need to educate or help to educate our people more, because if they had, that's probably a big reason why it's never happened, is because we don't know how to, manage our money, the money that we do have, the little money, if it's little or even if it's a lot of money. If you don't know how to manage what you have right now, you're not going to know how to manage it when it grows with,
Yeah.
more zeros. That became, super important to me. In addition to that situation that was affecting me, but it wasn't, directly like hitting close to home, but I did have that. And then my grandfather had passed back in 2018, which was a direct effect on my life with regard to financial literacy.
I'm so
Because
sorry for your loss.
yeah,
That's
oh, thank you.
yeah.
Thank you. Man, it was a really tough time in my life, where my grandfather passed and my sister and I inherited three properties from his passing, right? And
Mhm.
that sounds great, but all three houses have been in our family since before I was born.
Mhm.
And when he passed, we inherited all three of them with mortgages and tenants who didn't want to pay. So it was a huge headache. They
Wow.
needed major work. And the only thing that we benefited that was great about the situation was that he had those properties in a trust.
Oh, okay.
And yes, and so I had no idea what a trust was because I was like, what, 22, 23 years old. I had just moved to Los Angeles. And I was working with the Secret Service, which I'm sure we'll talk about eventually. So I had this amazing job making six figures. I'm 5 months into LA, and my grandfather gets hit by a hit and run driver as he was walking to church.
Wow.
And it was devastating. And like I said, I learned a lot, but I basically went broke trying to bury him. He didn't have life insurance. His life insurance had lapsed. And we had these properties that we had to pay the mortgage on. I couldn't no longer afford my apartment. And
Wow.
I had to sleep in my car. I worked night shift at work just to have somewhere to go overnight. It was just a complete mess.
Mhm.
Um, and this also triggered in me the desire to want to help other people not to be in this situation. And this is what gave me the importance of life insurance. Like, I
Mhm.
don't want to leave my kids this way, or my grandkids this way with no life insurance to bury me. So it was just a huge lesson between these two events that happened in my life, that I created financial literacy for people of color, to be able to teach them and give them resources to leave their family with, obviously the sadness will be from them passing, but at least not the burden to have to bury them or take over their assets in a good way. So I learned a lot in that process, and that's kind of how this organization was born. And a lot of the work that I do for profit, I also try to do not for profit as well. So the 9 to 5 entrepreneur and FLPLC, or financial literacy for people of color, they complement each other in their way, so we can still do some philanthropic type of work as well.
So financial literacy, let's say you have someone reach out to you, say, hey, Taylor, I need your help, need your coaching in my finances. I can't handle it, so how do you go through it? You start with a budget, or how
Yeah.
do you help them?
So the way I'm helping is by doing my free classes once a month.
Mhm.
And although I am doing it, because I'm teaching mostly, or I have most of my following on my personal page, I do it through there, but it is in the name of my nonprofit, right? So that's one of the ways is to, go on the website, click the link in my bio, and get registered for that free class. That will be the opportunity to learn some of the things that I'm talking about now. Some things that you may not have thought about in your personal life and your personal career. And it'll also be an opportunity to ask me questions and kind of get some additional guidance as to what you should be thinking about, some things you could be tapping into to make the best out of the income that you have now, no matter what the income is, whether you're on minimum wage or you make six figures. This class is for you, and there's something for you to learn there, to be able to apply to your own life and your own finances to just be better.
Right, because a lot of people have a 9 to 5 jobs or full-time jobs, right?
Mhm.
So they're making maybe, I don't know, 50K a year, 100K a year, 80K a year. So you want to start helping them with their expenses, right?
Yeah.
So maybe have them track their expenses
Hmm.
and then try to make some saving and then try to help them what they're gonna do with that extra money now. Is that how you?
Absolutely. So that's kind of what we dive into, right? We talk about the right now, and we
Mhm,
also talk about the future,
mhm,
right? Everybody's future desire for their future is different. Some people may want to have kids, some people don't. My
mhm,
future goals right now is just to retire my mom. So
mhm,
the things that I'm doing in my life to hit that goal is going to be different for somebody that says, "Hey, I already have kids. I don't have my parents have passed on. My only goal is to make sure that, I could get my kids through college." So
mhm.
everybody's plans look different, right? So we kind of talk about how to take what it is that you want for your future and then put that into a plan that's going to work for you, whether it's a 10-year plan, 15 years, 20 years. So we do talk about budgeting, right? Because that's going to, once you start to budget and every dollar that comes in and out of your account has a job,
Mhm.
like I always like to say, and it sounds spooky and scary, but it's like at the end of the day, when you get paid, you should have $0 in your bank account. And it doesn't have to be quite literally, but when you have nothing left, that means all the bills are paid and the rest of it is going into an investment. Because if you think about it, what good is your money sitting in the bank account just because you like to see a couple $1,000s sitting there, right? What good is it sitting there because it's not making you any money? It doesn't make you any money sitting there. If anything, what 0.05% interest when you can put it in an account that's going to make you 8 to 12% interest,
Mhm,
right?
mhm,
Or you can put it into a life insurance policy that's going to triple in the next 10 or 15 years.
mhm.
Um, these are things that I try to get people to think about within those classes of like, it's not a big deal. For me personally, I like to have as little to nothing left and everything investing
Mhm.
or going towards bills or having my fun money, as we like to call it, to go out and have dinner with friends. Like you still should be able to enjoy the things that you want to enjoy in your life while also making sure that you have a plan for the future as well.
Yeah, that's good. Actually, your money sitting in the bank losing value with inflation.
Exactly.
So,
Absolutely.
so 9 to 5 entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Some people call it 9 to 5 CEO. Why is it important and how can you help someone go from their 9 to 5 to building wealth?
I think it's important because one income is too close to none, right? As a business owner myself, I saw both sides of how this can affect you while you're working your job, right? I work for the federal government, and as you may or may not know, every single year when it's time to do budgets, they're arguing, going back and forth, and they can't agree on a budget. And federal employees don't get paid, right? Until
Yeah.
they figure out what they want to do. I experienced that, right? We went almost 2 or 3 months when I was with the service without pay because they
Wow.
couldn't agree on a budget.
Wow.
But I had a business.
Mhm.
I had a gym in Torrance, California. And while I wasn't getting paid at my job, I was paying myself through my business. Right. So while everybody else was like, wow, like, how am I going to pay my mortgage? how am I going to pay my bills because I haven't gotten a check in almost 2, 3 months. I was paying myself for my gym and I was still able to cover my expenses. Now let's flip that. Now that I'm getting paid again for my job, the pandemic hit. And now I have no income from my business, but I do have my income from my job, right?
Yeah.
So I'm able to leverage both of these because if I didn't have one over the other in certain parts of, the world and life,
Mhm.
I would have been struggling or I would have suffered. But because I was able to leverage them both at one point or another, that just showed me how valuable it is to have multiple streams of income, multiple opportunities for income. Because even with the most secure, like the job that I have, that's supposed to be job security.
Yeah,
Service,
it's
like, come on.
supposed to be a job for life.
Exactly, right? But there are times, or there have been times where I'm working this job and I haven't gotten paid,
Mhm.
right? But it happens.
Mhm.
You never know the moment that you may get laid off from your job, especially
Yes,
in today's age. You
yes.
never know when, God forbid, something happens and you're not able to work, right? You get sick, a spouse gets sick, a child gets sick, your parents get sick. You have to take off from work or whatever the case may be. Things happen. This is life,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
And life's right. As they
yeah,
like to say, life be life.
yeah.
And you can't predict the future, right? So having multiple opportunities or multiple streams of income as a 9 to 5er is extremely important for just that's the true security. That's the true job security, is knowing that if something happens on that job, you have something to fall back on. And that's kind of what this 9 to 5 entrepreneur is, because I don't call it a CEO because, again, not everybody wants to be a business owner, but
Yes.
you can still have an entrepreneurial spirit and an
Mhm.
entrepreneurial mind even without actually owning the business if you don't want to. And that's why I also talk about real estate, right?
Mhm.
Real estate is still in the category of being an entrepreneur, right? But you don't
Yes.
necessarily have to have a business. You don't necessarily have to have employees and all the things that come along with the idea of entrepreneurship, but it's still a secondary stream of income that you can leverage, especially for those who don't desire to be a business owner.
I like the two examples you gave, working with the federal government, and then you have a couple months without pay, so the business was able to, help you out. Then
Mhm.
vice versa during the pandemic, everything closed, especially the gyms were hit very hard. And
Hit
then
hard.
and then
Yeah,
and then having a 9 to 5 was great. So you're not the type of person who like say someone want to start a business, you don't advise them, hey, leave your 9 to 5 and start your business. You're the type of, you give people a very safe advice, like keep your 9 to 5 and
absolutely.
then try to build your business at the same time. Like you can do both.
Absolutely.
But
Yeah.
how do you organize yourself? How do you manage your time? What's your day-to-day look like? How
Yeah,
can you?
that's a good question. And I get that question a lot. But I want to comment on something you said as far as, keeping your day job, right?
Right.
Um, I believe Warren Buffett started the 7 streams of income, ideology that we kind of go by. And one of those 7 streams is your earned income.
Mm-hmm.
But if you start a business, which is could potentially be passive, your passive stream of income, if you start a business and then quit your job, you just lost a stream of income, which
Yes.
is your earned income.
Yes.
So unless you hit the jackpot, unless I hit the jackpot and I'm a millionaire the next day, I am keeping my job.
Yes.
Especially if you have, job security in
Yes.
air quotes, because we just talked about that. But especially if you have a job that is solid, you make good money, is flexible, you have benefits, like all those things that are important to you. If you have a great job like that, then absolutely. Now I get if you start a business and it takes off and you now are making more money in your business than you are on your job, and your job you just completely hate it and you're on minimum wage or something, You know, I get it. Everything is situational, but yeah, for the most part, I will say don't quit your day job yet. And to answer the second part of your question is like, how do I do it? Sometimes I look up and ask myself the same thing. It's like, I don't know how the heck I can do all of these things that I do. But one of the big things is using my calendar on this
Mhm,
phone
mhm.
to stay organized and to remind myself of things. Because when I first started doing this, I was missing important meetings.
Yes.
I was running late for things. I was forgetting, important deadlines. And I realized like I need to get a little bit more organized because I'm doing a lot. If
Yeah.
I don't get organized, this is just gonna be too much. So being organized is a key part to being able to juggle having a 9 to 5 and doing the entrepreneur life. You got to be organized. The second thing is delegating. When you have a business, depending on the type of business that you start, sometimes you are going to wear all the hats. You're going to be a solopreneur. You're going to be doing everything just like I'm doing. You're going to be recording the videos, you're going to edit the videos, you're going to be uploading videos. You're going to be making your own content, you're going to be doing your own accounting. Like, you may wear all the hats, but at some point in the scaling of your business, you got to learn how to let go of some of the parts of the business that aren't making you any money,
Mhm.
right? So um you can focus on making the content and maybe hiring someone to do the editing and uploading so that you can focus just on putting out more content, right? If it takes me an hour to make content and upload it, well, maybe if I have somebody else to edit and upload it, I can spend an hour just making content, right? So now I've been able to double my time or my commitment to that piece, if that makes sense. So I'm just using that as an example. But once you start to be able to outsource and delegate some of those tasks, that's going to help you to be able to scale, which is important for business, right? Because it's one thing to start, but if you don't scale, you're wasting time. You got to scale up.
Yeah.
So that's going to help you to be able to start scaling. So I would say those are the two biggest pieces: is staying organized and learning how to delegate, and just kind of being smart about when to start bringing more people in. And the third thing I would say is just understanding that there is no such thing as balance when it comes to entrepreneurship, especially if you have a job. No one day looks the same.
Mhm.
Like you said, what does the day to day look like? Every day is different. Like, it really is. Some days are longer than others. Some days I'm like, wow, I need to be doing something. I don't have much going on. You feel crazy when you don't have a lot to do.
Yeah.
Um, so it really, really just depends. But trying to find balance, especially when you're just starting out, let's just call it a perfect storm. Just
Mhm.
find your perfect storm because things are going to be crazy. So that's how I do it.
So basically, you do 9 to 5, and then when you get off from that job, then you put your business hat, and then you start checking the business, what's going on. So you try to do it every day or just on your days off?
I do it every day.
Every day. Yeah.
Um, and again, it depends on what's on my to-do list. Because
Yes.
I use this app called Structured,
Mhm.
and you can like make out your calendar for the day, and then you can also like put in like a to-do list, like a running to-do list in the app. So if I have downtime, then I'll just go to my running to-do list and say, okay, what can I mark off of this to-do list right now? And so just being conscious of the downtime that you have is going to be ideal to kind of keeping that going. But
That's great. Airbnb, how is it now? It used to
yeah.
be hot. How is going? You definitely have some experience in that.
Yeah, great question. So I've been doing short-term, mid-term rentals for the last 2 years, but I've been in real estate for like the last 6 or 7 years. So I've always been kind of savvy when it comes to real estate and dealing with tenants and guests and things like that. So when Airbnb got hot, I always looked at it from an angle of how can I make this sustainable? The issue with why it's, not so hot anymore is because a lot of people were getting into this to make quick money. And
Mhm.
honestly, like there is no such thing as quick money. Like you can make it, you can lose it as fast as you make it if you don't have a sustainability plan.
Mhm.
Right. So a lot of people were getting into it, investing money into it, not really studying it or understanding the aspects of entrepreneurship and being business minded. They were looking for a side hustle, something that they can make quick money every month. And that was the downfall for a lot of people getting into this. For me, when I got in, or when I realized that it was a business that could be lucrative, because remind you, back in 2018, when I was sleeping in my car, I was sleeping in my car because I was Airbnb in my apartment to make money.
Oh, wow.
So I kind of got a glance at that really early on of like what that process was like. And so being able to come back into it as a business or on that entrepreneurial side was, definitely looking at it through a different lens. But I said, and you all have to always think about this, right? What happens if Airbnb goes bankrupt? What are you going to do to keep that property occupied, right? And so that's how the question that I asked myself, and that's how I got into the midterm rental space. So I use Airbnb because Airbnb is not a business; it is a platform.
Right.
And a lot of people kind of mix up the wording, but I mean it's for context, right? I will say it just for context of like, hey, yeah, I do Airbnb, just so people can know what I'm talking about relatively when I'm speaking about it. But so I started getting into midterm rentals, and so I used Airbnb as a tool and not a business plan. So now I am working with traveling professionals, travel nurses, travel doctors, x-ray techs, um, construction workers, anybody who Google employees, Raytheon, like you name it. I am working with these traveling professionals, digital nomads, to house them so that like they will usually come anywhere from 30 days to 6 months at a time. I have a guest that's been with me for a year now. And I think he's gonna leave next month. But so these things are great because now I can predict my income. With
Mhm.
Airbnb, you can't really predict your income because you have to wait until somebody books you.
Yep.
But if you use a midterm guest, you set the price and they pay the price. And so if they're there for 3 months, you can predict your income for the next 3 months and
Mhm.
really for the entire year because you know what you're going to charge. Now, I will usually use Airbnb. Like, let's say my guest who checks out in September, if I don't have anyone to replace him by 3 weeks before he leaves, then I will list that unit on Airbnb to get some shorter stays in
Mhm.
between
Mhm.
until I find a guest that can now come for a longer period of time. Because remember, I work full time.
Right.
So I have to make this work for me.
Yes.
And so because I work full time, this strategy is great for me because now I don't have to deal with guests checking in and out every 3 or 4 days.
Yep.
I could do that in spurts and then only deal with a new guest, maybe 6 times a year. So that works for me. And I've been able to build a business out of it. That's how I've been able to sustain it, not depending on one single platform to make money for me, but also building relationships with hospitals and businesses, kind of doing that B2B, has been able to kind of help me build that business out and sustain it through the pandemic too. So
Midterm rental, if you're building those direct relationship with these travelers, how do they reach out to you? Do you use Facebook? Do you use Instagram? Do you use a personal email list? How do they book you? Is that a direct relationship?
yeah, I use all of those.
Okay.
And also, so I started out using Furnish Finder.
Mhm.
So I don't know if you've ever heard of that platform, but Furnish Finder is specifically for traveling nurses, but a lot of other traveling professionals go through there as well. So what I will do is list the properties on there. So I do list my properties on Furnish Finder year round. I also list them on Airbnb year round. So you sync the calendar. So, that booking feature you don't get double booked. But once I started getting guests through Airbnb and Furnish Finder, what I would do is start to build my own email list out of that.
Okay.
So every guest that has inquired about staying with me, that has stayed with me now or in the past, they go on an email list so that I'm always marketing to them when they come back, or, if they have friends. I get a lot of referrals.
Yeah.
So I always ask for the referral. And that's a big thing in business, especially if you're selling a product or service. You're going to want to always ask your clients for a referral. And I've got so many referrals.
But for the most part, they can bring you client without you looking for client.
Exactly. So it works great. Um, so yeah, I do use those platforms and I leverage those. I am in Facebook groups, so I market in Facebook groups. And then there's different communities as well. Like I had 2 units in Nashville, Tennessee. And so Nashville has its own little midterm network. And so they have little like regions of Tennessee where there are hosts in each region, and those hosts work together to help keep their units occupied. So it's a pretty cool network, a pretty cool thing to tap into that you won't necessarily get with the short term, Airbnb, because you're not really connected. Now, Airbnb does have I haven't tapped into this yet, but I have seen them advertise a community, a host community where, hosts can work together and kind of help each other out with, hosting and stuff like that. So they do have that option within Airbnb itself as well.
Yeah, I like what you're doing without depending on one platform. Like you said, what if they go out of business or they just change their rules, right? So
Yep.
that's so smart what you're doing. You're building your own other ways of getting leads to your Airbnb business.
Yeah.
So real estate, how can someone get into the real estate? What are some of the advice you have people who?
Yeah. So the way I got into real estate, and I kind of gave you guys a little bit of the backstory, was I inherited 3 houses when my grandfather passed away. And that's kind of how my journey started, because one of those properties I decided to flip. So once we got the tenant moved out, I got in there, made some repairs to it, and put it back on the market. And that was like my first introduction to, real estate. And so what I did from there was I used my own money to do another one. And my second one was in Mississippi, which is where I'm from. So if y'all have heard a little country in my accent since y'all joined, that is where it's from. Y'all probably like, where's she from? I'm from Mississippi. So I started investing in Mississippi. And then I got a mentor. So for my third property, I decided to get a mentor because, I was doing my own research and I'm hearing that there are ways that I can invest in real estate without using my own money. And I'm like, well, I want to do that. So I got a mentor to kind of show me what to do, and, being in a more intimate setting where I can have one-on-one calls. And this was like extremely important for me. And for me, there are different types of people. But I am like very much so a go-getter. I don't need all of the information. I just need some information, enough for me to go execute, and then I'll come back to you with questions when I'm stuck. Some people they need to have all the information at once before they can execute, and that's okay. You just got to know what kind of person you are, so you can know what kind of coach or mentor you need to be able to be successful. But I'm the type of person, I'm like, just tell me a little bit, let me go do that, and I'll be back. So that's kind of what happened. And basically I raised the money. I was able to find a lender that would lend to me. And I was able to leverage my mentor's investment history or his investment experience. So if you have no experience and you're wanting to go to a lender for lending and you have no experience, you can leverage someone else's experience. So preferably someone who knows you and trusts you. That's why it's important to get into these spaces, these networks where, there are other people doing what you desire to do.
Mhm.
So I was able to get into this network, and then I was able to leverage my mentor's experience plus the little experience that I had, right? I had done 2 properties before that as well, to be able to get this lender to trust me to lend to me. So that was the first step. And then I had to look for a deal, right? So I went connected with some realtors, told them what I was trying to do, and then they started to send me properties. And so I told my realtor at the direction of my mentor, I was like, hey, I want to put in an offer on a house every single day for a week, and let's see what happens. And by the end of that week, I had 2 offers accepted. And so I
Wow.
had to choose. By this time, I had spoken to my lender, and he told me how much money I was going to need to go to the closing table to make this deal happen. And my mentor was coaching me through the process of raising funds.
Mhm.
And so, I ended up raising $75,000 from one person. And
Wow.
I kid you not, the how I got the money was going down my contacts list on my phone. And I was like, who can I reach out to? Like, how the heck am I gonna raise $75,000 for a real estate deal? I had no idea, what the heck I was getting myself into. And part of me didn't believe that I could do it. Right.
Mhm.
And so a lot of you, if you're listening to this and you're thinking about it and you're hearing what I'm telling you I had to go through, you probably like, I'm telling you right now, don't check out on me. Right. Don't think that it's not possible for you, because it absolutely is. You just got to get creative. And I've been able to do this 3 times. Um, since then for deals, is just raising money. Actually, 4 times, raising money from different investors, right? So once I was able to, uh, pitch them the deal, let them know like how much I needed, when they were going to get their money back, how much interest they were going to get on top of that,
Mhm.
um, I was able to get a yes from my very first investor. So that's how I was able to go into a deal with no money out of pocket, and then still walk away with a $25,000 profit. So,
Wow.
so yeah, and that was my very first deal. So since then, I've obviously been able to make more. But it's a numbers game, and the market is shifting, is doing its thing right now with interest rates and stuff. So, I highly recommend getting a mentor and somebody that can talk you through this process and kind of help you understand, the risk, and help you, get a team and all the things that come along with it. But it's definitely doable. I flipped all of my properties in Mississippi from California. And so not only did I do it out of, raise the money to do it, but I did it out of state remotely as well, which is, could be a scary thing, but you could do it.
So I like that. So getting into the real estate, that was that's a good tip. So you don't have to put your own money in. You can raise money using, people, or finding some investors. And then once you buy, first of all, when you buy in the house, do you buy it on the business? Like,
Yes.
yeah. Okay. So
And
you
most lenders, if you're doing a flip, they are going to require you to do it in
Mhm.
your LLC name, in your business name.
Mhm.
So you don't want to do it in your personal name, of course, unless you're buying a house to live in yourself. You definitely want to make sure that you have that business set up and ready to go so that you can leverage that.
So you have your business in, so the business is buying the property, and then once you have that property, then you sell it. That's how you make profit.
That's how you make profit. Yep.
Yeah,
Back on the market, um, for a higher value.
right. That's good. How about people who just buy to hold? Say, hey, I just want to buy it and then rent it out to maybe it, you know, multi-family homes instead of single family home, and
Mhm.
then have rent it out and then have some cash flow coming in every month from people paying the rent.
Yeah. So again, you can still do that with no money out of pocket. Your
Mhm.
investor just has to be willing to be in it for a longer period of time. So usually when I'm investing, I'm doing flips.
Mhm.
And so that's a 6 to 8 month hold period, right?
Mhm.
So investor invest, they put money in. they get the money back plus interest in 6 to 8 months. With a longer term investment, you can still do the same, use the same strategy, but you have to have an investor that's willing to be in the deal for, a couple years, somewhere between 3 to 5 years likely. Or you can actually probably even do it in a shorter period of time. It just depends on the method that you're using, because it's a lot of different strategies that you can use to get into real estate, whether it be buy and hold, whether it be flip. But the one that I'm thinking about is the BRRRR method. So there's buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. So the BRRRR method. And what happens? So you buy the property, you renovate it, and then you get a renter in there. Once you get the renter in there, now you're cash flowing. Then you can refinance. So this is where, if you use an investor, that investor can get their money back, and then you can take the rest and go do it again and go buy another property. So when you refinance, you can do a cash out refinance, right? So you can refinance the property for a better interest rate. If you have equity, which you should, because you should not be buying a property to BRRRR if you don't have equity in it, right? You won't be rehabbing a property that won't give you equity. So you should have enough equity to be able to pull cash from it and then take that money. Let's say you need to give your investor, let's say you have $80,000 in equity and you can pull 50,000, right? Let's say you need to give your investor 30, and you could take 20 and go put a down payment on another house and then start the process all over again. So that's the BRRRR method. It can work with an investor, but the numbers have to be like really good.
Yeah, that's great, especially for people who want to get into the real estate. I was always wondering how they're doing this flip. Now I understand better based
Yeah.
on what you explained, and you can buy the house, then renovate, and then try to resell it, which is what is flipping, right?
Flipping, yep.
So that's good. That's good. Especially you're doing on the business, so you can. So how do you compete with because real estate is a very competitive market. You have those big corporations coming in. You have a lot of big names buying a lot of homes in the United States. So, and then you have a lot of realtor. It's just so competitive. So what if you're not able to flip it? Don't able to sell it. How do you deal with the investors in that case?
Yeah. So typically when I am vetting a real estate deal, I don't get into a deal that I don't have multiple exit strategies for.
Yes.
So usually if I'm flipping a house, if something goes wrong and I can't sell it, I can BRRRR.
Yes.
I can use the BRRRR method still. So
Yes.
my numbers work for multiple strategies. So if I go in and my goal is to flip it, and I decide, okay, it's sitting on the market too long, I can't afford to keep paying the loan on it, I need to get a renter in there.
Yes.
Then I would have known before I even went to the closing table, that if this deal doesn't work, that if I was to get a renter in there, that renter will still because of the rental comps in that market, I could rent that unit out, and that renter will be able to cover my mortgage, and probably plus a little bit of cash flow if I can. So that would be the fallback, right? If you're trying to flip a property and it's not selling, then you can rent it out.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be my workaround.
That's great. That's great actually to have your exit strategy.
Absolutely.
So you said you own a business. You have a franchise. So how is it? How can people, if people are interested in owning becoming a franchisee, so how can they do that?
That's a loaded question. Okay, so I will tell you that I opened my business in November of 2019, 4 months before the pandemic. So, and like you said before, if you guys were watching the news at all, you know that California and New York got hit the hardest. Not only did they get hit the hardest, but gyms and restaurants it was just mind-boggling, right? How bad we got hit
Yeah.
by the effects of the pandemic. So I closed my gym in July of last year. But so I was able to make it through quite a bit, of the pandemic, but we were open November 19th, then we closed March 2020, and then we had to stay closed for about 5 months before we were able to open back up. So as you guys can imagine, as a entrepreneur, making this huge investment, and before you can even get your feet off the ground, you're shut down. Reopening after 5 months was basically like starting over.
Yeah.
Um, all the money that was dumped into marketing, the money that was dumped into, the memberships and all of that was basically washed out from us being closed. So it was really just a slow effects of us building up to just having to ultimately close. And so one of the things that I've learned in entrepreneurship, especially with having like a brick and mortar space, is you got to learn when to cut your losses. And when you learn when to cut your losses, you got to cut them quick.
Hi guys, please don't forget to subscribe if you didn't do it so far. You can check my YouTube channel, my Udemy courses, my Amazon store. Let's take a look. This is my YouTube. If you're not subscribed so far, go ahead, hit the subscribe button. You can like, comment, and share. And you can see here my courses on Udemy, my Amazon store, and you can watch all the other videos you like. And here, if you go on Udemy, you can see some of the courses I have here. The complete course on top 41 legit ideas to make money today, ultimate Amazon leadership principle masterclass, a brief beginner's guide to gaming, a brief introduction about America, a great course, starting a business in America as a foreigner. That's a great course with a partnership with Augusta Massey, and solar system 101 course for all level. This is one of the latest course I have, one of the highest rated course on Udemy. Don't forget to check it out. So this is a snapshot of the solar system course, just the introduction. You can take a look here. And I started with a quote from Neil deGrasse Tyson, also ended this introduction with that quote. You can also check my Amazon store at amazon.com/shop/online-school. These are some of the Amazon product I use and or I can recommend some top pick products. For example, you can see here, this is a list of products I use in producing online campus school videos. Some headphones, microphone, USB, lightning, green screen, laptops, a lot of small equipment that I use. Laptop stand, that's very good for the cooling of your laptop. Anyway, just link in the description. Don't forget to check it out. All right, back to the video.
Continuing to wait would just prolong the process, make it worse, incurring more debt, all these things. I had to, think like, what's going to be the best option for me? I could stay open and drain my savings, trying to stop the bleeding from this business, or I could cut my losses and go focus on the other businesses that I have that are making money. And so ultimately, that's the decision that I had to make. And entrepreneurship is not easy. And sometimes the best decision is the hardest decision. It was so hard for me to make that decision because, I cared about my members, I cared about my staff. But ultimately, neither of them were going to pay the bills.
Yeah.
So
did you end up closing the gym?
I did. I closed in July of last year.
Okay.
In July of last year. So if it wasn't for the pandemic, we would have been fine. I was able to scale my business, the gym, from $0 to $50,000 a month.
Wow.
Right before we closed, we were at 50K. Wow. And even after the pandemic, we scaled back to 50K. Actually, we hit 55K. The only issue was that we had a pandemic. So yes. It was ebbing and flowing. And one week they would tell us we had to wear masks. The other week they said you got to go outside. Then a week later they said you can come back in, but you got to be vaccinated. So like our memberships were just up and down and up and down and up and down. And it was just like to a point where like, I don't know what they're going to say next, So, so it was a tough decision to make. But as far as franchising, and I want to answer the original question, is franchising is a good can be a good thing, right? One of the biggest reasons why I decided to franchise, because I do have my master's in business administration,
Mhm.
and I learned a lot about what happens to most businesses. Most small businesses don't make it through their first year.
Yes, that's true.
Um, and I saw that as a challenge. And I
Yeah.
said, I'm going to start a business and I'm going to. And one of the ways that I decided to combat that statistic was to franchise, because I said, well, if I franchise, they're going to have the whole business model laid out for me. I just got to go implement it,
Yeah,
right? They're going to
yeah,
have the branding, they're going to have the marketing, they're going to have all the strategies that I need. They're going to have the how I need to outfit the gym, the
yeah,
equipment. I don't have to think about anything. I just need to pay and
yeah,
implement.
yeah.
And so I learned so much about business through franchising, just about the importance of branding, the importance of marketing, the importance of member and client engagement, um,
Wow.
lead generation, sales. Like I literally learned everything there is to know for the most part about business through franchising. So from that aspect, it's a good investment, especially if you have no idea what to do and you just want to implement and learn.
Mhm.
A great thing. On the contrary, if you could learn everything you need to know about business without franchising, you could also save money, right? Because
Right.
with franchising, you have to pay royalties. You have to pay certain fees that can get expensive, right, for the business. But it's kind of like, again, the price you pay if you don't know. So yeah, it has its pros and cons, just like anything else. But you also have support, right? So there's people that can be assigned to you that if you need help with the business, you can call on them to support you and ask questions. If you're doing it on your own, hopefully you at least invest in a mentor, somebody that you can still call and confide in and ask questions about the business when you feel stuck. So definitely franchising has its pros and cons, but for me, the best thing was just like learning everything I needed to know and just implementing what they were telling me to do because they were the experts.
Yeah, that's so good. Learning the business, they're very good on the marketing side, lead generations. Would you, if you have the opportunity to open another business, would you do it by yourself, or would you go through the same process like being a franchisee? If you have to redo it again.
Well, I would say if I had to redo it again, I'll probably do it the same way.
Mhm.
I don't regret, franchising. I don't regret the relationships and every and all the experiences that I had through franchising. But now that I know everything that I know now, if I had to do it again today, with still having my past as part of my life, I would probably do it on my own.
Yeah.
I wouldn't franchise again, no, especially not for the same type of business. I wouldn't say it's not something that I wouldn't consider. I probably would consider franchising again.
Mhm.
But right off the top of my head, I would say I probably would try to go after it myself
You
first.
you can have your own McDonald's with a
Right,
franchisee.
exactly. No,
Do the
I'm not
same.
open to McDonald's.
No, no with McDonald's.
No McDonald's. No
All
McDonald's.
right. All right. So on another note, you are very successful in full-time jobs. You work as a special agent, state trooper. You're doing a lot of investigation in the criminal side.
Mhm.
So what can you share with people on that, and what advice do you have for someone who wants to apply for those roles?
Yeah. Um, so yeah, like you said, I started off my career. First of all, I got my undergrad in criminal justice. So
Mhm.
I always knew I wanted to go into law enforcement. My uncle, before he passed, was in law enforcement. He was in the military and he was like my father figure. So I wanted to do whatever he did. So
Wow.
that's kind of how I got into law enforcement at all, was just, watching him. And so I always knew I wanted to go into law enforcement. And so I ended up going to be a state trooper just after college. And as I was a young trooper, my coworkers encouraged me to go federal. They knew I was getting my master's. They saw something in me that I guess I didn't quite see in myself, right? They knew I was smart. They felt that there was more that I could be doing outside of just being a state trooper, even though it was like most prestigious position you can have in our state. They pushed me to do more. And so I will say that I wouldn't be where I am in my career if they hadn't pushed me to get out and do more with my career. So I always appreciate that. And so they pushed me, and I decided. My mom works at the VA, and she ended up telling me that the Secret Service was hiring.
Wow.
And I kid you not, I didn't even really know what the Secret Service was at the time. I was just like, okay, like that sounds cool. I'll apply to that. And I tried applying to the FBI. I
Mhm.
was too young for the FBI. They wanted me to be at least, I believe, 25, and I was still like 21, 22 at the time. And I also applied to the Federal Air Marshal. So I got hired by the Air Marshals first, and I was waiting on the Secret Service to hire me. So I went ahead and I kind of stalled for time until the service finally gave me an offer letter, and I took that job. Um, but I didn't have any particular experience, and I want to say the service now doesn't require you to have a 4-year degree. When I came in, they required a 4-year degree.
Okay.
Um, I don't think that that's a requirement anymore.
Okay.
So that's a good thing. So if you guys are interested in doing that, they are always hiring. So I think they are on a hiring pace, and they're trying to get a certain number of agents in the next couple years. So they
Mhm.
are hiring frequently now.
Okay.
So you can go on usajobs.gov,
Mhm.
usajobs.gov,
Mhm.
and search Secret Service. They have two different positions. They have special agent, and they have the uniform officer. So uniform officer is going to be based in DC. You're going to be working at the White House. It's basically kind of like beat cop
Mhm.
type of work. Um, and it's just at the White House in DC. So that's where you will be based. With the agent, the special agent, you can kind of be based anywhere in the country. So it just depends. They may send you where you want to go, they may not. But with the agent, you do investigations. A lot of people don't know that the service also does criminal investigations. So we do counterfeit,
Wow.
um, mostly counterfeit, but any kind of work like that. I think asset forfeiture, fraud, all kinds of stuff. So that's a cool aspect of the job as well. And of course, protection of our presidential, vice presidential candidates, and people that are in office. So when I was there when Obama was leaving office, Trump, through Trump and Biden, I mean, sorry, Trump and Pence. And then I was also there through Kamala and Biden before I ended up leaving. But
Wow.
yeah, it's a very cool experience. And I would say if you want to go into law enforcement or into a career like being a special agent, I always say it is a single man's job. Like many people do, many people do it married, but it is very tough,
Mhm.
especially for me as a woman.
Mhm.
You know, you travel a lot, right? Especially during campaign year, you're gonna travel, right? When they start campaigning and going all across the country, you got to go with them. So, you could be gone 2, 3 weeks out of a month. So if you have family and that's important to you, I'm not saying that it can't be done, because it absolutely can, and people in that career do it every day. But it is not going to be, easy. So if you're single, you're young, I say get in while you're young and single, go enjoy it, travel the world. That's what I did. I had an amazing time. And then I decided to come back to Los Angeles after relocating to DC for personal reasons. And that's the only reason why I left. Otherwise, I would have stayed. So,
Wow. Thank you for your service. That's awesome. That's so inspiring what you did. So do you have to be really fit? Like, is that to get in? Like, do they test your physical ability to, a gym shark, someone who's
yeah, I mean, so the physical fitness requirements is public knowledge. So you can go on the Secret Service website and
yes,
pull up their um,
yes,
physical training requirements.
yes.
I think I heard that they changed it recently, so I'm not 100% sure. But you don't have to be in the best shape of your life, but you do have to be in some kind of good shape, because you're gonna have to pass the PT test. Depending on your age, you have to run a certain time. I think it's a mile and a half. So you have to run a mile and a half in a certain time. Depending on how old you are, it could get easier. So if you're on the younger side, you're gonna have to run a little faster than you would if you were, 30, 30, 32, 33, whatever.
Yeah.
I think the cutoff is 36. So
Mhm.
if you are older than 36, you might be able to get in with a waiver. It just depends if you have military or something like that that could work in your favor. But yeah, so you do have to be physically fit to get in.
Wow. Of course, yes. So for a young person out there, a young girl, a young man who wants to become a special agent or who want to build a successful business, what would you tell them?
I would tell them to make a plan.
Mhm.
Now, and follow it, right? But also be open to that plan changing. Just like anything, they say if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans.
Mhm.
And, you know, I think that it's nothing wrong with having a plan, even if it changes. So, just focus on that. If you want to go into, this career, write down what the steps that it's going to take to achieve that, right? You're going to have a good resume. You
Mhm.
want to make sure your resume, qualifies you for the job, right? So take some time to figure out how to do that, right? Reach out to me. I
Yeah.
will be happy to help you with your resume and like having those keywords, right?
Mhm.
Um, what else would it take, right? Going on to USA Jobs, searching for the job, applying to the job. Like, what other steps would it take? Make sure you're physically fit. Like, write down those steps and then keep going until you actually achieve it. As far as entrepreneurship, same thing, right? What is it that you want to do? How can you put yourself in environments that is going to help push you towards that goal? Whether that be going on Eventbrite and searching for a networking event in your area just so you can meet like-minded people. Because I get a lot of people telling me, like, I don't have friends that are like-minded. I don't have people in my circle that want to start a business.
Yep.
But that's okay. If you don't, you can go out and find them. Put yourself in places where you can meet those people. Social media, my goodness, is
Yeah.
at your fingertips. Go and search for people and don't be afraid to be told no. That will be a big one. Never be afraid of rejection and being told no. And one thing I always say is no means next opportunity,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
If person A tells you no, go to person B, that's your next opportunity. And you never know who's gonna say yes. You may have 99 no's, but all you need is one yes. So if you
Wow.
ask 100 people and you got that one yes that can literally change your life, those 99 no's was worth it. Keep going.
Keep going. Keep going. Yeah. Have a plan. So on your personal note, what you like to do if you're not doing 9 to 5 or if you're not building businesses, what are the things you do to build yourself up for your personal development?
I work out. I'm in the gym, and as you can see, probably gonna go right after I get off with you. I'm
How
gonna
how
go to
often do you work out? Every day?
I try to go every day or at least 5 days a week. Um, it depends. Like if I didn't go today, I'll definitely go to tomorrow. So I usually try to go at least 5 days a week. And of course, like I had my own gym. And the crazy thing is, I thought that when I opened the gym, I was going to be in the best shape ever because I was going to work out all the time.
Yeah.
That was not the case. I actually gained more weight on in the gym because every time I went there, I was working. I
And
was like,
and
oh,
and you had a boxing gym, right?
I have the boxing gym. So I did box,
You do boxing?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I love boxing, and that's part of the reason why I opened it because, my law enforcement background, I have been introduced to boxing and mixed martial arts since I was in college. So, I had a particular love for, just boxing and, keeping that going and it being a part of my life, even though once I opened the gym, it was just a lot of work. So,
So you also do weight? You
I
do
do, yeah.
weight?
So mostly doing weight training right now.
Mhm.
Um, I'm down 20 pounds.
Oh,
So
wow.
I gained,
Congratulations.
thank you, thank
Wow.
you. I'm down 20 pounds. So, I've gotten back into my fitness after, kind of going through this transition with moving to DC with the Secret Service and then moving back to LA and, closing my gym and moving around so much. So it's been a huge transition for me the last couple of years, but I feel great just finally being able to get back into my fitness. So that's mostly what I do in my free time. I read, work out, spend time with my family. I love to travel.
Wow.
Um, so that's about the extent of it.
Yeah, health is wealth. It's great that you're doing that. What's your thought on MMA? Boxing or MMA?
I will say boxing. Boxing is definitely becoming more exciting again. I think around the time that I was getting in, they were saying that boxing was a dying sport.
Yeah,
But the last couple of years it's been, back on the rise. We got
yeah,
some great both women and men fighters that are on the rise and keeping the sport alive. So
yeah.
I'm
MMA is also is very big. Like UFC, they're doing a lot of fights. Especially here in Vegas, they have their headquarters here,
yep,
and
even
even boxing. Yeah,
are doing like MMA fights as well.
yeah. It's becoming I like that because it's gonna give people motivation to work out, to go out. I do also boxing. I do a little bit jujitsu, a little bit training.
Yeah.
I train at some of the UFC gyms sometimes to see athletes. But
Uh-huh.
it's really cool. It's really cool.
I love it. Very cool. Yep.
Yeah. Hey, Taylor, I know, we can talk for a long time, but thank you so much for your time. You built a very successful life. You went through a lot. You talk about sleeping in your car and then building a franchisee, having your own gym, working with the 9 to 5 jobs with a special agent, which is really, really inspiring. I hope everybody watching today can say, "Hey, I can do it," because you give us that motivation. Thank you for your service, and
Yep.
also your businesses. Some of the courses I like them. I'm probably gonna watch some of them for sure. And yeah, I hope we can do this again. It's a great collaborations. This is why I make this channel. This channel is to meet people like you, people who have some expertise, who have a lot of knowledge they want to share to the world, so we can build share that knowledge with the people, and hopefully we can build a more perfect world where we can all we can have a world as one people and one planet. Because we are all human beings.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, thank you for sharing your knowledge, and hope to see you next time.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you all for watching. I look forward to hearing from you.
All right. See you next time. Bye bye.